Right guys, it's Ryan K back again with another trance production tutorial. This time looking more specifically at percussion. So it's not quite a beginner's tutorial, so if you're looking for complete learning production from scratch, this is not the video for you. It's more aimed at intermediate. So percussion in trance especially, it's extremely important to make sure the track has drive as well as the mix sounded full, and ensure that the track has movement. Like, if it doesn't have movement, it'll sound boring, generic. It definitely won't get picked up a label unless it's desperate. But the percussion, in my opinion, is probably, well, I wouldn't say it's the most important, but it's definitely one of the most important things for a track. So, bit of context of the track. The track I'm working on at the moment is a remix for a record label. I'm about 30-40% into it and got the percussion down, bass, etc. But it's just a shell at the moment. So this is what it sounds like in context of the track. This is the percussion, obviously. So, quite not basic, but nothing too special. So let's show what we went through. So to start off, finally, FL Studios have got the function where they can get different tracks and put them under one like global track type thing. So for example, I can have percussion like this and drop it if I don't need it. This has helped me so much in organisation. So just a simple little thing to look out for. Like I said, we'll start off a little bit basic. Every track generally has an offbeat open hat. In this example, I have used just a sample from a sample pack in a loop. In fact, sometimes I won't have it as a loop. Vast majority of the times I won't have it in a loop. But I quite liked the tone of this open hat, so I put it in. So after that, a bit more interesting, we've got the closed hats. As you can see, 16th notes, but it's what I like to do these days. I like to take out the closed hat where the open hat's going to hit, so it allows the open hat to cut through the mix a little bit better. And then the other notes are put where they're not. Along with that, I ensure that the velocity is different on quite a few of them, just to give it a bit of groove. So a lot of producers, I say, just have machine gun closed hats, full velocity. Doesn't give it a groove. What we've got after that, we've got shakes, just to give it a bit more high-end groove. 2 layers. Just before I go any further, I need to stress that sample selection is the most important thing in music production, in my opinion. You can have crap samples, but really, for example, like the rhythm example is really nice, but it just doesn't sound sonically good. So you need to make sure that your sample selection is good. All of the freshly squeezed samples are amazing. There's plenty of other ones if you do some research, but yeah, make sure your sample selection is good. So what else I've done on the shakers is I made sure the panning is different. So one shaker has a medium to left pan, and the other one has right medium pan. So what that does, again, like I said before, it gives it movement. Make sure you listen to headphones, or you might not hear very well. So moving on from we have a ride. Well, that's a bit of an odd ride. Usually the rides sound a little bit more like open hats, but with a bit more sustain and release. But because of that, it was kind of interfering with the rest of the percussion. So like I say, make sure you get your right sample selection. So that sounded better to me, so I've used that. And a bit different. So I've got a couple of percussion loops here, and I usually use percussion loops to fill out the not the mid-range, but the upper mid-range of the frequency spectrum. So they sound a bit more wood percussion-y. That one's got a clap in, but generally I like to take claps out, so I probably will take that out, mess about with it a bit more. The last little sample I used, it was a loop, but I quite liked just the one part of it, so I chopped it up a little bit. So yeah, you can hear it there. So, last but not least is the clap. Obviously ensure it's on the second and fourth beat. Well, no rules, but let's be honest, that's a given. What I've done here is I've got 3 separate claps together. That's the body. That gives it a bit of a human element. And there's a little bit not enough high mid on it, so I needed another layer just to add to it. And one of the second most important thing after sample selection is volume mixing. Make sure you mess about with it until it sounds correct to your ear. So that's the percussion. This is what it sounds like on its own in the mix. Let's have a little listen. First of all, I'll tell you how I route if you want to be American, my mixer channels. So everything I do is every type of instrument I route to a mix bus. So the bass, mix bus, snares, kicks, acids, pads, leads, FX, etc. So they all come to here. I ran out of room here, so I added the shakers down there. So like I said, the second most important thing is mixing levels. Like if I had all these the same level, they'd sound atrocious. So let's have a look at what I do on my processing. A lot of the samples have already been processed for the sample pack, so if they sound good, what's the point in changing them? So a lot of these are just volume apart from my clap. Here's my clap. It has a bit of glue compression on just to ensure the attack of the kick, so the start point of the kick, the click of it, comes through. I've got a simple low cut filter on, just to take out the low end that's not needed. And I've got a little bit of slapback delay, I think. Yep, just to make sure it gives it a quick sounding reverb just after it hits. Okay, just to give it a bit more space. That's the theme of my track. A lot of it's quite roomy reverb. So after that, percussion, just mix volume. So that's got a little quick delay on. That's the sample one I had. Volume, and the mix bus is the most important thing. So I'll turn it all off, all of the effects. Very dry and boring. So first of all, what I like to do on all my percussion, sometimes I do it in the mix down, is I add a transient designer on. And what this does, it increases the attack. So basically pushes up the transient at the start of all of it, basically, since it's on the mix bus. So on, off, on, off. So it just brings it to the front of the mix. If you're not using headphones, some decent headphones, you might not be able to hear that, but it really works in context of the mix. After that, simple low cut. Yep, ensure nothing below 100. Just good, just that's just kick and bass goes there, and some instruments do as well. We delay. So very quick delay, I think. Yep, very quick delay. Ping pong settings, so it bounces through left to right speakers. Let's see what that sounds like. and it's very subtle as the mix is quite low down of the wet. Reverb after the delay, because I wanted the reverb to bounce on the delay as well, so if that makes sense. So if after the delay is triggered, the reverb goes just to give it a bit more of a bit more like presence nearly in the mix. I think this is a short, yep, low in the mix, very short decay, slapback delay as I keep mentioning. Slapback reverb, of course. So then I compressed the hell out of it, I think. Yep, so it's quite a low threshold and a massive ratio, 6 ratio, so really it triggers it hard. Normally I have a really hard knee, so it's even more unforgiving, but for this one it's a bit of a curved knee. The attack, 6 milliseconds to ensure that, again, like I keep mentioning, the attack is not destroyed completely. As you can see, it's pulling up the low peaks and dropping down picking up the troughs, push up the troughs louder, whilst lowering the peaks a little bit. Like I say, you could raise the attack a bit more, but that sounded fine enough for me, so that was good. Filter, that's just for transitions in the track, to lower the cutoff just for transitions. And then I've got a second EQ. I think this is good practice to do in music production on a lot of mix buses, because if you add in saturation, it might add in lower harmonics, which really do mess later on in your mix, and you're like, where the hell is that coming from? You look back your mix bus, and it's because saturation is added to stuff in the 50 Hz which you don't need. Sometimes I might boost it if it needs a little bit, but generally don't need it. And then I've got like I say, a lot of that's done in the volume, the gain staging. Then last but not least, LFO, so basically volume reduction. It's not exactly extreme, because I like to make sure some of the mid percussion comes through, because if you have it too much, all you hear is an open hat. So you can still hear it ducking still, which is perfect. And second last, I also like to use a bit of swing on percussion, but the whole track's got a bit of swing on. So what this does is basically slightly unquantizes some of the notes, just to ensure that it sounds a little bit more natural. Again, it literally does what it sounds like, gives it swing. So on the last tip I could talk about percussion is in the mix down. I like to, every single track, so this except all the percussion, the bass, acids, whatever, I'll mix it down to a WAV stem, and what I do is I duplicate the WAV. So I'd go like this, make unique, so it gives it a duplicate. And then what I do is I add auto panning to the duplicate percussion bus, so very fast auto panning, so it pings left and right, but I ensure it's very, very, very quiet, so it doesn't, there's no massive phasing issues. Just to give it, again, a bit more movement, a bit more, it fills the mix up a bit more. But no, that's how I do my percussion. Like I say, so take home message is, number 1, sample selection is key. Number 2 is ensure that your gain staging as well, so your levels, your volume levels are perfect. Listen to other professional tracks to do that. And number 3, again, mix bus, ensure everything, all of the percussion is sent to a mix bus to ensure that all of the percussion's having the same treatment. It gives a bit more, it again just ties it in better. So I hope you've learned a few things, guys. If not, well, tough. But if you want to see the next tutorial, probably going to be on bass lines, probably mid bass. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to know a bit more news when things are coming out, like my Facebook page and my Soundcloud page. But again, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you later. Bye.